Let's see. Good morning, everyone. I'm just waiting for YouTube again. I'm just gonna get, as soon as I get the confirmation from YouTube, I'll let you guys know as well. Just a second. Awesome. I can see myself, I can hear myself, and Amanda's here as well. And I always feel like one day it's going to be quite a few people watching for us. Usually it's just ourselves, both of us, which is fun. Anyway, it's welcome to episode 18. Yesterday was a short episode, and today will be as long as it gets to be. We're going to try to keep it to the 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but we're going to keep it, of course, allowing the flow to come through as well. So just before we jumped into the call this morning, like Amanda and I, we always kind of like, have a little chat, explain or share a little bit of what happened the day before. And yesterday I shared a little bit as well, like how much, my mind was a little bit busy, let's say at the weekend. And sometimes it's very interesting as well. Like if you can bring awareness to it, you can avoid, kind of like throwing or blaming or putting into other people around us, people that we love and so on. And today it's interesting to see the other side as well. When someone is on that busy mind as well, and going through a lot of stuff, what can we do as well from our side as well, rather than engaging into it? And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples before we jumped in. And I feel, the topic for today is going to be probably about conflict, family, and we're going to see how it evolves from there. But basically, like when you have in a relationship, and it happens, like it can be in a friend relationship, it can be in a romantic relationship with your partner, with your spouse, or we can be in family between, brothers, sisters. And I was just talking to Amanda, all families, they have their own dramas. It's so interesting. Like I feel we put all of these different characters into, because we were born in one family, and then you have so many different minds and so many different ideas of the way to see the world and everything. And because we're family, we think that we have to be similar or something, and it's not. We have our own unique way of looking at lives and so on. And sometimes we can be on those periods, I mean, like the famous, like where you, like for myself, the weekend with Gabo was exactly like, I don't know what I want to do, if I want to go out, if I want to stay at home, if I want to, meet friends, or if I don't want to meet friends. I don't know if you guys have, that moment where you, like, you don't want to make decisions and so on. And then you can start going into, blaming, why did we book this? And I don't feel like that. And, shaming and everything else. Or you can do similar to what came to me like at the weekend, which was literally just like, oh, I understand, this is just my mind going everywhere. Do you see what I mean? Which it happens. And then it goes from, a little thing of like deciding where we're gonna go eat out, then if can go like everywhere. It can go like for money issues, or for like relationships, or do I want to do meet this person, I don't want to, and everything else. And it can go all over the place. And that's what brings us to this topic today. What do we do when we're not the one with the head in there, but when a loved one of us, so for example, a friend, a family member, is going everywhere with their mind as well, and it's just understanding that, oh, I understand they're going through their period, and it's not about forcing them out of it. It's almost like allowing them to go through it, and even if they don't have the tools of bringing them back to themselves and being into a peaceful place and calm place, we can be that source of calm and peaceful place, can be that, strong place where they can, they can be shouting and everything and talking, and it's exactly the same as like our mind, but just an outside person, let's say, that's doing that in that sense. So it's just like, yeah, how we can, allow ourselves not to be stepped on, or, I mean, not humiliated or anything else like that, but just like allowing the person to go through what they get to go through, and being that source of light, that source of love, that source of peace and everything. And one quote that we brought up this morning from Wayne Dyer, I never forgot that as well. Would you choose to be right, or would you choose to be at peace? And I think we always have this, choice between us, you see, of being right or proving right, and justifying and finding what's fair, what's just and everything, or being at peace. And I'm not saying that being fair and everything is wrong. It's just like about, being, finding your point of strength and finding your inner power, which is bigger than, having to prove right or prove, which comes very much from our ego, which is like, I have to prove that I'm right. I have to prove that that person was wrong. And if we look down the line, we're gonna like, what do I gain with that? Do you see what I mean? I lost someone that I love because now I proved that they're wrong, or they prove that I'm wrong. So now I don't want to meet with them anymore because they are like proving, yeah, what do we gain with all of that as well? So yeah, sorry, I talk a lot already, Amanda. So
Yeah, no, I love that. I was
that we get to make a t-shirt. I love that t-shirt.
I know, I was just completely captivated by everything you were saying. I was almost just an audience participator there. I was just loving everything you were saying. Um, yeah, absolutely, and it's a really common thing, isn't it? As we are, waking up to who we are and waking up to who we are within as well, and all the things that we've shared on these 18 beautiful mornings that we're sharing with everybody. It's when our mind has lots of different reasons forgotten. It's so much more. It's forgotten its heart, its innocence, its power, its strength, what it's connected to, that we come from love. Our base vibration that we come from is a loving intelligence, and we're all that, and we're all one. And I know it's things we all hear, and our ego goes, well, that's great, but that person just shouted at me and it didn't feel like we were all one in that moment. And it is that when, as Julia beautifully said, sometimes it can be our own minds that feels like it's attacking us and won't shut up, and then sometimes it can be another person that's maybe got some things going on, they're not aware of it, their mind's whirling, they don't know, and to kind of relieve themselves a little bit, there's maybe a bit of projection going on, bit of blame, and then an old egoic pattern, which we know for thousands of years, because how much war and conflict has humanity had. It's that separation again. Well, they've made me wrong and I'm not, and I need to make myself right and make them wrong. And it's all about making right and wrong and justice. Um, and we're saying doing it from a healthy place, not from a place of being a doormat or, well, to be a loving person, then I'm going to accept abuse because that means I'm loving. And so we're saying it's always about, if we're with somebody and if it triggers us, that's what we're saying, isn't it? Because we can be with somebody sometimes, see they've got stuff going on, and we're able to hold space for them and hug them and say, hey, okay. And sometimes that person can talk about it, and sometimes it's just bluff, brain fog, I'm projecting. And you're like, okay. And it's in that moment that we're able to come back to love, aren't we? And that's when we take those breaths. And it's not easy sometimes, because that part of us can go, maybe there's a part of us that maybe wasn't allowed to speak up as a kid. Maybe there were lots of times when you weren't able to speak your truth, you got shot down, or you were blamed for it, or you didn't feel safe speaking your truth. And sometimes we can go through a healing stage where we realize we find our voice. But it's knowing that if ever I get triggered by somebody else, no matter what that person's doing, yeah, if I'm physically not safe or emotionally safe, you take yourself away. But it's always about, I'm going to take my breaths. I'm going to come into my heart space. I'm going to feel myself in my body. And whatever emotion is in there, whether it's anger, because anger is quite a protective energy that kind of blocks us from going beneath. And beneath anger, there'll be sadness. And there'll be some sort of grief, maybe confusion. Why is this happening? I don't know. And if we just keep going beneath the emotions that are coming up without having to work them out necessarily in our mind, because our mind will say, well, I need to know, addicted to content, why is this happening? We can say, it's okay, mind. We're just going to bring you to a place where you can just chill out and relax. And if there's anything you need to do, it will come from this place. So it will be solution orientated. It will be kind. It will be powerful, though. It will be strong, it will be loving, it will be the right thing to do from a place of alignment with love for both of you. And then when you get to that place within, and that contraction, that mind can really resist it and sort of say, well, they did that and they said this, and why? It's not fair. And that's when we can say to the mind, yeah, I hear you, sweetheart. I can hear that you're upset. Tell me. Tell me why you're upset. Talk to me. It's okay. It's all right. It isn't really about that other person. That's been set up for you to look at something that's ready to be looked at and healed. And then when you get to that place within that's always there, there's always a place of stillness, peace, serenity, love. And then when you break through, just keep feeling the anger, and you feel the sadness, and then cracks open. And sometimes there's tears there, or sometimes laughter. When you get to that point now, ah, everything's all right. I'm safe. Nothing's gone wrong. They're beautiful. I'm beautiful. I surrender that part of me that needs to be right, has to defend myself, has to blame or be blamed, has to fix this, fix that person. We come into vibrational harmony within ourselves. And it's a beautiful place when we break through there. You all know what I'm talking about. When you've done that, done the breathing, you've gone into your body, you've said the words that your heart and mind need to hear to reassure yourself to get there. And maybe a part of our ego does have to die in that, but we know there's no such thing as death. It's just integration, transformation. So that part of our mind then gets beautifully transformed into, I'm just going to live from love and harmony. And I don't want to fight. There's no need to fight anymore. Something's abusive, emotionally, physically, yes. That's our cue. That's our soul's cue saying it's time to leave. Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask as well, Amanda, because there are moments where we can get triggered and war, because let's say we're having a situation where someone is like really, angry or projecting at us. It can be blaming, shaming, whichever it's working there. um it's all good to say, go within ourselves, but there is a moment where we get to know, where to protect both parts. Do you see what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that person that we know we love, do you see what I mean? It might be a romantic relationship. It might be a, a family member that we love. It might be a friend and so on. We know that there is something more important, which is the love between each other, but we're having a disagreement. Because sometimes we don't even know why we're having the disagreement, because everything is in that person's head or on our head. For example, my example with Kabul, he couldn't understand what's going on because all the argument and everything else was in my head. It was not projected outside. He could feel that something was wrong. You can't, and then we can go into fight and argument and everything else. But if we're on the other side, which is like, what's going on? Do you see what I mean? Then it's like, how can we play this in a safe place when we're not hurting each other, not being abusive to each other, and not letting being abused by as well.
Such a good question, because I know that's been my journey with this, definitely. And I think it's always when we realize that what our mind will want to do, it will want to fix things from the outside first, and then I'll feel better. And we realize it just doesn't work. And it's that final surrender to that where we say, well, actually, it's always coming from within me. So if someone's fighting with us or shouting, it's always that point where we can say, look, this isn't where any resolution is going to happen. So I think we need to take ourselves away. And it depends how awake that person is. And sometimes if that person's been doing quite a bit of work on themselves, they recognize and say, yeah, because we know when there's reaction, it just doesn't work. So take ourselves away. And then sometimes as well, if it is that person, I've noticed if that person's getting a little bit fractious, sometimes that's my sort of heart can almost take over, and I find I really slow down and my breathing really slows, and I find myself being a real presence of calm. And then that's the energy where maybe that person can join you. And so go, I think I was saying about something happened the other week, and that person eventually sort of said, I don't even know why I don't know how I was there. What was I talking about? And we were able to just, and then there's times when that person can't, or maybe you're getting triggered. And that's when we come away, and that's when we're able to, from that place of getting within our own serenity and peaceful resolution and harmony again, that's when we can say, actually, we can look at that relationship from a place of compassion and kindness, but inner power and strength. Yeah. And we can actually say, is this relationship about mutual love? Is there a constant evolution? Do we inspire and uplift each other generally? Everyone's got their little bits, but generally we work through them. Or actually, am I here because there's a need? What's keeping me here? Actually, this person generally is not very nice. Why am I staying? Why am I staying with this person that continually isn't very nice? Why am I here? And it can be all sorts of reasons. The mind will say, well, they're family, so we're family. I can't go. We're family, or we've been best friends for years, or they're a work colleague. The mind will come up with all sorts of reasons, but actually, our soul, our heart, our higher intelligence will always be the power and the strength and the love. Because if we stay in a relationship with somebody that's always projecting, always mean, and we're there because maybe we've got some wounds that are saying, well, I'm not enough, and they promise me love, and I'm so desperate for a source of love outside of myself. I'm so desperate for validation. I'm so desperate for approval. I'm so desperate to feel safe with somebody that I'm those little glimmers that they give me in between the not so niceness, almost like an addict. I stay for the crumbs. I can't go because I feel guilty. And it's when we're able to even just gently look at those sides and heal those wounds, where we become strong and powerful and loving. And then we heal those wounds of any need, approval seeking, emotional doormat, people pleasing, validation seeking our wholeness and our love from somebody else. Well, that person loves me, so I must be okay. But what happens if that person's having a bad day and they can't love us? So when you always come back to that space within, and we heal whatever wounds have come up, or any patternings that Junior and I were sharing about different family patterns. One was saying it's more about should or shouldn't, and the other one was saying it's more about blaming, and internal blaming as well. And we're just able to just say, actually, this is working, and also we don't want to enable that person. A pattern that is still healing in me can sometimes be, oh, we don't want that person to feel bad. So I used to leap in too quickly so they didn't have to feel bad and take responsibility for something they'd done.
I feel that there's so many topics like that you tapped on. I mean, of course, we're gonna, tap on them a little bit longer, but in other episodes. But there are one thing that you said, like we can be, I mean, if we've been let's say abused, and I can, I think I shared this as well, like one of my romantic relationships were long term as well. It came from a place of need. I need that person around me. We get to be okay, and in order to be okay, I can be this doormat where, step up, or and even I can see now how I was creating the abuse to happen, because I wanted that, conflict to end now, and not allowing the space for the person to actually, get rid of the thing and everything else. It's not even blaming them. It's just like they needed the space, and I was like, no, let's solve it now, and we get to get a resolution now. And then that's where, the verbal abuse came, and the even physical abuse, because they needed space, literally, to allow to go through that. And then I could go to the victim place like, no, but they throw stuff at me, they, swear at me and everything else. But you can understand that they were in a space where weren't, they weren't able to even see, like as you said, there is a fog in there, and I'm not allowing that fog to settle down until they go through. And then we go like, oh no, but they throw this at me, they, said that, and they, I'm the victim and I was the doormat and everything else. It's so easy, but it's a co-creation. It's always two people. If we're creating that, even if it's a family member or a relationship,
Absolutely.
to be abused, you have to allow that abuse to happen as well. Do you see? I'm
As
not here for you guys to say like, no, you should be abused or you shouldn't, or they, but you get, the step of stepping out. You have the power to go within. I get it. The person is on a foggy place and everything else. I get to step out. And if you feel that it's every time you come in, there's that fog coming back again, maybe that space has to be for a longer period. And the and sometimes it might be that you're not meant to, to be in the same environment with that person, even if it's the family, because again, we come with all these family rules that we say, because it's family, we have to be, in the same environment, we have to come to, I don't know, Christmas, event, or we have to be happy, we have to be, I don't know, in each other's life. And we were born in the same family. It doesn't mean that we have to be together for the rest of our life. And I'm not saying that, separating family is better or worse. It's just we get to have that discernment of understanding, okay, is this person, are we contributing for both of us? I know that I love them as a family member or as a, an ex and everything else. What's the best thing we can do here for both of us to be happy and fulfilled and at peace and calm and so on? And sometimes it might be to go apart and to allow that time, to heal and you can do whatever you need to do on your own, but you can't force the other person to go through that step as well.
and God, I love everything you've said, Gina, and the vulnerability of sharing all that, because that's what we're here to do. We're here sharing very real things, aren't we? Um, and it's beautiful that you're saying that I recognise what was happening there, and so there was a need there, and sometimes as well it can be the other way. Sometimes someone can keep us there through guilt because they'll say, "But I need you."
Mm-hmm.
And then we can, then it's almost the other way, isn't it? Well, I can't go because they need me. And then I think for our heart and soul, as soon as somebody's unkind or mean or abusive or violent or not very nice, I think that's always that person's cue that's saying, I've got some inner healing that needs going on, and I'm not being very nice. And that's my cue to you to say, I'm probably not great to be with at the minute. So I'm putting up the danger signs. I'll probably keep you distance for a little bit. But if we've got a need or a guilt, we ignore those warning signs and plunder through them, wonder why we end up plummeting down cliff edges because we didn't read that person's signs. And then we don't enable behavior. And I think what we always come back to, I know you've shared this beautifully when we've talked about all sorts of relationships that we've been so thankful for them, that when we go beneath the anger, the injustice, the blame, the shame, the guilt, the sadness, the grief, what is always underneath that is a space of love, and then the joy comes back in, and that's that moment of true gratitude for what that person brought to your life to allow a healing, a transformation, and integration. And when you've got there, because you will always you reach that point of, wow, that was painful, but thank you for that wonderful opportunity to remind me to go within, let myself feel and honor what I was feeling, any thoughts that needed to come up to be loved. And you get to that point of gratitude, and you can, hand on heart, no matter what's happening externally, there may not be a reuniting, there may be, It may be that, yeah, there's a beautiful space that's needed here, and in that space you get to that place of, I'm so thankful to you for what you allowed me to see and heal. And in that place, whether we are there's somebody that we can actually be with or not be with, you always send them love.
I
You
feel
see what's going on, and there's no judgment.
this is the beauty of it, and it's being open to all the possibilities of
Mm,
loving the person and the different ways of loving the person. It is not always being with the person in the same room, which is just creating triggers and so on. I feel
yeah,
I can see it from my parents, for example. They are much happier apart. You know, they're divorced for 25 something years,
yeah,
having their own lives today. You know, my dad got married again. My mom, you know, has her partners and so on. So it's like just allowing them to be themselves rather than like being, which I remember, you know, when they're fighting and you know, because of all the, you know, social norms of like, because you were married you have to be forever or something, and it just creates a toxic place. Whereas now, you know, they're apart for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now almost, you know, and
yeah,
they build their own lives again. Do you see? And then and that can be with anything in our lives. It can be like, I know that, you know, my long-term relationship that was, you know, abusive and everything else, I allowed that because there was a need inside of me, or you know, there's a match in there. If there is a victim and the bully, because there is a match in there, the bully cannot be there without a victim allowing it to happen in that sense, and the abuser or the abused in that sense. So the same way it can be with, again, we have those social norms, because this person is blood of my blood and I have to be with them, or I have to see them every Christmas or so on, or every whatever, you know, event in there. And maybe, you know, having that separate, it's the most loving thing you can do. And if there is, you know, some sadness coming up, oh, I wish they were here, I wish we could have spent some more time, you can go within, you know, feel into it,
yeah,
allow it, and then you can come back, maybe, you know, try it again, see how it goes. Is it healed? No, it's not, you know. I mean, it's, we can't negotiate. And I like bringing the analogy that we brought this up a few times as well with Amanda. Imagine like that you have and it can transform as well. It might be a person that you had a great relationship up to a certain point, and that person may be transformed, and then you're like, why are they not, you know, the person that they were before?
yeah,
Because they're transforming, and we are transforming, like we said in
yeah,
a few episodes, we're transforming every single day, you know what I mean? As we said, physically not a single cell of our body is here more than 7 years ago, so it's a new person in front of you. It's
yeah,
not the one that you saw before. And sometimes we can be, you know, we can have that little cub, you know, the lion cub that you
yeah,
have you playing with it, and it's so cute. It's like, you know, a massive cat that you're playing, and then it's growing and it becomes into a lion. And then you playing with a lion can be hurtful. It can be, you know, and it's not that the lion is bad, and it's not that you know what I mean, the bad. It's just now the cub is not here anymore, and now there's a lion.
yeah,
And you know, if you're going to play with the lion, you're going to hurt yourself.
yeah,
And killing the lion is not going to solve the problem, because then you're going to like, wow, I have so much love and so much attention for that lion, because I know I've seen them growing up. I've seen them, you know, how much they love they have inside of themselves. But we have to allow them to be in their space so they can actually be the lion that they're meant to be. And we can be the person that we get to be in that sense.
love that. And as we say, it's not about we're evolving, aren't we, out of the
Yeah.
old paradigm of right, wrong, good, bad, you know, angel, devil. We're coming out of that now, and we're seeing that um, it's always going within. We go through everything, we turn to love, we have that gratitude. And in that space, that's a space of potential.
Yeah.
And every time we see that person, we're able to be with them in that moment. If there's been some time apart, or even just a half an hour while everyone's gone off and took some breaths and come back, and we can always be with people new and fresh. And in that moment, you know, you might meet that person again and say, gosh, we had to have some time apart, didn't we? But we've come back together again, and this is a new opportunity. And maybe that person hasn't changed at all. And quite quickly you're able to see, because ego doesn't cycle, isn't it? Okay, that's a beautiful thing. And we're able to always be in the moment with everything, because things are constantly changing. We are, situations are, people are. But evolution, consciousness is always wanting to evolve and a returning to conscious love and inner power. But within that, there's a unity. So no matter what you have in your life, if there's no need in it, then that's the paradox, isn't it? That's when it comes to you. So, I think the beautiful thing when we can let people go, even, is I love you so much, I'm going to let you go. That's when, if it's meant to be, it'll come back. But I always know that within, whenever we go within, there's always unity there. Like, if whether they're in your life or not, there's always love there, and it's when we can come down to that and heal whatever patterns are there. As we said, the expectation, the guilt, the over responsibility, the overly protection, the vibrational codependency. I cannot be okay if you're not, because if you're okay and healed and sorted, then we can have a healthy, great relationship, can't we? So you need to heal yourself pretty quick. Why aren't you healing? Because if why aren't you healing? Because if you're not healing, I can't be in harmony with you. So, okay, why aren't you healing? And there's a frustration sometimes. I've experienced that. That was a real deep wake up call for me of, ooh, okay. But it was very liberating for me, because I thought, God, what horrible pressure for people to be under around me. God, I've got to be healed around Amanda, because God, if I'm not, that's awful pressure to put on somebody. And that was a real liberating. I was so grateful to a few people in my life that really helped me to see that. And they helped me to step out of people pleasing, fixing, vibrational codependency. I can't be okay if you're not. If you're in pain, I feel your pain. I don't want you to be in pain. So I try and instantly save them from their pain. And it was the very pain that was there to guide them back home. So everything is happening for our highest good.
Awesome. Well, we can leave it there. I mean,
Definitely.
for you guys, so there are few takeaways that we can take from here. Of course, if it is an abusive, relationship or abusive conflict that you're having and everything else, you're gonna know when you're allowing it to become abusive, because as I said earlier, both parts, and I know, from my own experience, I was allowing that abuse to happen. It gets, and then for me was the need of, I need that person and I get to sort that out now, and I didn't allow the space and everything else. And sometimes you get allowed the space for that to happen, and that space could be for a few, for half an hour, or for a few years, it depends, or for a lifetime. I don't know how big is that space as well, but it's about you going inside, creating your own piece of calm, piece of love and everything else, allowing those feelings to come through, I miss that person or something, and really send love to that person. And from my own experience and going through, different situations, even with like a situation with my sister a while back, and Amanda knows that we lived into it as well. We just create some space, and that space was, for us, was like 6 months, a year, and it was the best thing we've done, and it transformed. Our relationship is not as used to be, and is a new relationship, is a different relationship that I'm glad we have, to see, because of that situation. So there is, there is ways that we can transform that as well, by healing ourselves, by going into ourselves, without, Amanda was beautifully putting out there, without putting the pressure that they get to heal, they get to sort out, they get to behavior in a different day. They shouldn't be the lion, they have to become a cob again. It's madness, but that's what our mind does from time to time. But it's just like knowing that we have the power within us to get back to who we really are, the one that can love regardless of distance, regardless of time, regardless of anything else, regardless of even taking ourselves away. And then you can test it out and see, okay, how does it feel again? Can I get closer?
Yeah.
Is it sorted or not? Do you see it? Can we sort it out now that we both, with the guards down? Can we actually have a conversation about it? Can we love each other now? And
Yeah.
if not, then fine again. Let's just create space again.
I love that. And I know we're wrapping up. I had a similar thing with one of my sisters.
Mhm.
We came together after my mum died, and oh, it's just become one of my most treasured relationships. I adore her because she did healing separate. I've done healing separately, and now coming to, like you were saying with your sister, and I adore my sister. She's a source of inspiration, love. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that as well. And you guys, if you have a relationship or how you dealt with it as well, if you want to share with us as well in the comments, please
please.
feel free. And yeah, if there's any questions of if you're going through something and you don't know how to deal with that, yeah, let us know in the comments as well. And then we
Do.
discuss that on the next episode as well. So thank you guys so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.